If you could be any toy that you wanted, what would it be?
An iPod.
This Punisher toy.
A slinky.
What is happening?
Man, I was very excited to do this podcast. That answer just went so many different directions. No, see, not get into that. Well, let's get into it.
Amber?
Yeah.
Amber.
What'd she choose?
An
She went
iPad.
with an iPad. Does that count as a toy?
iPod.
It basically counts as a toy.
That's a huge stretch.
Well, I mean, every kid has one now, and it's like required for every 2-year-old to have an iPad.
I'm gonna search up the definition of a toy.
Okay, you do that in that while. I went with Slinky,
Why?
a classic toy, because you can just like slink around everywhere.
You already do that now.
Imagine going down the stairs as Slinky. Have you ever put a Slinky down the stairs?
Yeah.
Amazing work.
Is that how you want to spend your day?
Yeah.
Okay.
If you're an iPad,
Toy.
you just sit there.
Noun. An object for a child to play with. Typically a model or a miniature replica of something.
Yeah. It's something that a child can play with. A child can play with an iPad, and it's a model
Think of it
replica
like
of
this.
a computer.
Think of it like this. If you go to Target, right? Or Walmart, whatever.
Go to the toy section.
Are you going to go to the toy section and find an iPad?
Yeah, you will. They have those. They
No,
have.
you're going to go to the technology section.
Yeah.
No, they have those leapfrog.
Well, then you should have said the Leapfrog tablet.
No, but they have a bunch of different companies now of like tablets.
Wrong. Amber, this
Listen,
is
I just wanted to win.
Second week in a row where you abused the question.
Abused.
No, that was Shamir
Yeah, I
last
abused
week.
it last time.
You did.
Yeah.
Wait, so would you go with the Punisher toy?
Yeah.
What's the Punisher toy?
So there's this like YouTube channel. It's called like Fail Toys, right? And I had this Punisher toy when I was younger, and like there's like a gun thing that comes out
That
of
sounds
its
like an
chest.
inappropriate toy.
It's
not
very
sound
inappropriate.
Oh, you want to play with the Punisher?
And like this little cannon comes out of his like
Oh.
crotch area.
What?
Yeah.
What?
But it's like the Punisher from the Marvel superheroes.
No.
Yeah.
Boy.
But like
Aisha.
I'll show it to you guys after. Yo,
Hi,
what's up,
Aisha.
Aisha? Thanks for ruining our podcast.
Aisha, if you could be any toy, what would it be?
Yeah.
Any toy?
Yeah, hurry
Yeah.
up. You got 5 seconds. 5,
Connect
4, 3. What'd you say? Connect 4?
Yeah.
See, that's a fun toy.
Thank you.
I consider that a game, not a toy
Yeah, it's not like a toy.
It's better
You
than
can't talk.
It's
What?
better than Amber's.
though. What?
I
She
liked
said
mine.
iPad.
I
Okay.
liked mine.
That was a pretty good one. All right. Well,
I'll show it to you guys after. It's very inappropriate.
Do you have it?
Not with me anymore, but I used to.
do you show it to all the ladies you bring over, or?
So
A
wait,
toy?
so hold on, let me understand. So what comes out of its crotch area? A gun?
Yeah, it's supposed to turn into like a cannon. Like it's like a transformer. You know how
Why is
transformers
Amber
like,
so invested in
turn
this?
into something?
and then
But it's like a cannon.
She's
that
like, where
comes
do you
out.
get it? How much is it? All right.
But
Sorry
yeah.
for another
for a
weird
friend.
intro.
Sorry about
typo.
that, guys. but never
You are
happened.
listening to Strange Flavors. This is brought to you by Alif Theory. My name is Faras.
My name is Huefe, aka Shimmer.
my name is Amber.
Thank you guys for tuning in. Swiping in.
Tapping.
Swiping,
We're done
tapping.
with tuning.
No, there's a
no
bunch.
tuning.
Someone
No,
might
tap.
be tuning in though.
They're tapping.
Somebody in this world is tuning.
How do you tune into
You
something?
cannot tune.
You can.
There's no
maybe
more tuning.
Tuning. And
There's no radio
let
station.
me look
to
at the
tune
definition of tune.
in. Oh
Go
my
ahead.
god.
You guys, if you want to email us or send us your music, our email is strangeflavorspodcast@gmail.com. You can send us any questions you have or any concerns, any comments, any stories if you want to recommend a guest. And of course, if you're a producer, a rapper, a country singer, a yodeler, you can send your music and we'll be sure to play it in one of our transitions or our outro.
All right. Definition of tune. Number 4, verb. Adjust or adapt to something, to a particular purpose or situation. So they can be tuning in.
But you're not
this
adjusting to
particular-
it. You're like just going in it.
You're tapping in,
Yeah, you're tapping in, and that's
not tuning.
tuning.
You're not,
Still
like, turning a
you're
dial.
You're adjusting your purpose to that.
Sure, for the sake of ending
Yes,
this
spiritually you're
conversation, I'm
tuning
done.
in.
Yeah, you're tuning in.
Actually, that's the thing. Like when the teacher says, like, "Okay, everybody tune in."
Yeah, tune in. Like what to the TV? You're not like
You had
tuning in.
teachers say tune in.
No, but even like TV.
A
Tune
teacher,
in to
a
me.
teacher said
Tune
that
in.
to you before?
Yeah, I don't know.
No,
if
she
teachers-
called me a Looney Tune. That's what I'm getting confused.
Okay,
Actually,
Right, I was gonna say.
Yeah. Also, we're on Facebook and Instagram and Twitter if you want to follow us and keep up with our contests and things like that. And YouTube, if you're watching on YouTube, what's up? Shout out to you. Thank you for
Shout out,
subscribing.
shout out.
We got some shows coming up. Our last 2 shows, the last ones have been really fun. April 19th, we'll be at UMBC. That's this Thursday. And April 26th, we'll be at Harford Community College. Back in the country lane, you know what I mean?
Oh, Bel
It's going to
Air.
be a great time. Bel Air's not even that country. You, like, make me seem like I'm, like, some hillbilly, bro.
Bro, the songs you've been listening to, fam, lately?
Yeah, Frost, you listen
The
to so
Yodeler
much
really
country
put me
music.
on that. Like,
No, you've been listening to
You've
it before.
been listening to country music.
I know, but it's good. Like, there's a certain mood for everything.
I mean,
and
country music.
has a mood.
Country music is cool. Like, I don't mind country
yeah.
music, but that's all you listen to in the car.
Well,
At
it
least
makes
when
me
I'm
feel
there.
good. Like, there's not a...
And I feel like the reason is because of your environment.
I think you
That's
do it
why.
just to annoy us, to be honest.
Like, I want to go to one of those country festivals where everybody's wearing plaid, having a
the
good
boots
time.
and the hats.
Some short
He's gonna have
jeans.
the straw in his
boots,
mouth.
straw, cowboy hat. Honestly,
Yo,
like, wearing
that's
cowboy
cult-
hats is
That's
so
cultural
fun.
appropriation, bro.
Wow,
All of them
rude.
probably don't do that.
Is that why you did that in Texas?
What, you did it too?
But dude, it's fun. Yo, this last show that we went to, University of Maryland College Park. So we've been doing this show for a while. Well, I was in high school when I first started going there.
Swag.
They gave us like some really good shout outs over there.
Yeah.
Like they were
I wish they had like OG pictures.
They had a
Yeah.
slideshow and they had you guys on every page.
yeah, from since 20 what
15, 15, 15, 15,
2015,
15.
but
Yeah.
actually it's been back since like 2012 or 13 that I've been going there. And
They didn't have cameras back then. That's why they didn't show
No.
the pictures. Yeah.
actually that cricket one that they were showing, I was at that one too, and I thought
Oh,
at the
dang.
time that it was pretty whack. But yeah, because they played cricket at the first event that they had. But no, College Park, it's always so much fun. And yesterday was or 2 days ago, it was a great time. We even shot like a part of our music video, which you'll be seeing soon there,
gonna be lit.
and everybody was really hyped for it. One of the coolest moments out of like everything that happened during that show, during that whole performance, was actually a good friend of ours, Sanjay, and he has been. I've seen him since I've been performing there, since I was in high school, and he was one of the first people that came up to me and was like, "Yo, like, it's really dope what you're doing and everything." And I saw him again, and I was like, "Hey, what's going on, Sanjay?" And the first thing he said to me was like, "Dude, I love the podcast."
Yeah.
Like that's the first thing he said to me.
That's awesome.
And that was like the most like heartwarming thing, honestly, because a lot of people will talk about our parodies and like
Yeah.
everything else that we do, and of course that's the stuff that goes that gets
Yeah.
big. And
but this
you
is
know.
like something very small and like a
Yeah.
particular set.
And
of
the
people.
fact that like you have to tune in, right?
Tune in.
You have to listen for like an hour. And he said that he was never into that kind of stuff before, but he was commuting to New Jersey, and so it was hours long. And he was like, I was getting tired of my music playlist. Actually, the same way I got into podcasting. But he was like, you know what? I'm gonna give it a shot. And he listened to one episode, and he's like, I was hooked.
Yeah.
And Sanjay, if you're listening to this, like, dude,
Thank you so much.
Thank you,
much.
Sanjay. We
This means a
appreciate
ton.
you.
And everybody else like Sanjay that's listening, that gave us a shot. Like this
Yeah.
means the world.
Also-
and we're almost on 50 episodes.
Yeah,
which-
and
that's
also
crazy.
like if you have a friend that like might be into podcasting or like tired of their music, just like share it,
Anyone who has a long commute, anyone
Yeah.
who, wants to.
and you guys can like join the conversation.
for
Yeah.
sure, yeah, and respond to us and let us know, what you think of our guests, our interesting strangers that we bring on, and
'Cause
who you
guys
think we
are
should
all
have.
my friends.
Swag.
Amber's back on that vibe. Yeah, so we've been having a lot of different guests on, but like what we've been kind of really taking interest in is like personality types, right?
Yeah, we recently like took a test and like I forgot, it was like a
Enneagram.
Enneagram.
It was eclectic energies.
Yeah, eclectic
Energies.
eclectic energies.
Yeah.
And it's like different personality types, and I think like our whole squad took it, and we all had like different personality types, which is crazy.
Yeah.
Because I think
How many of them are there? 9?
9.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So if you've ever heard anybody say like you're a type 7 personality, type 8 personality,
Yeah.
like that's what they're referring to
Yeah.
most of the time. It's like a big test,
Yeah.
right? So yeah, it was awesome that like out of our squad, like we all had like different types, and I think that's what makes like a good dynamic of a friend group, right?
Yeah.
Right.
Is just different types of personalities. Because you guys all, it was funny because I got a type 8, which
Yeah.
like is
Frost is very
Super
type A.
dominant.
Super, like-
does not allow any other authority To be in
alpha.
Alpha as hell. Has so many layers. Doesn't like to let anybody.
And the funny
in.
thing is, like, I got that. Everybody knew I was gonna get that, and everybody does an eye roll. Like, everybody is sending me those gifts of like.
You wanna know why
they were
we were
so
giving an
mad.
eye roll?
They were mad that I got what they thought that I was gonna get.
No, we were giving you an eye roll because you were proud to see that you were an 8.
Yo, high key. Here's the thing about it. Okay, all the other ones, like, they're so negative. Like,
Yeah.
oh, like you get very emotional, you get depressed, you do this, and then it's just like, yo, take over the world. Like, you got this, fam. Like, that's the type 8. It's like, hey, I feel good to be an 8. What's wrong
No,
with that?
because when I read 8, I see all the negatives in that too. But then you have to
Name one.
I think you. in
Amber?
its entirety.
Amber,
round
you
two.
have to stop this.
Round 2.
This is the second week.
I had an alarm on. I'm so sorry.
Amber.
Okay,
During
listen.
our podcast.
Listen.
Whoa.
What I was saying is that basically in all these personality types, right, there's going to be a negativity that you're going to see when you don't understand it personally. Like in mine, I didn't think there was any negative things. It was talking about how you have an entrepreneurial spirit and how you have, like, you're very networky and this and that. And there's some negative things in there, but that doesn't overpower.
No, for sure. There's
all of
positives
them.
and negatives to all of them. But what, like, Shamir and I were discussing for a while was, like, when you are an unhealthy version of that type and a healthy version of it. So, like, you know how, like, the bottom of the type 8 was pretty much saying, like, you get aggressive, you get very angry, you get very emotional. So, like, that I can totally see when I was growing up, like, when I'm a little kid, right? That was me. I was super, like, rage monster, getting mad at everything. I would cry over anything. And then it's like the more that you develop and the more experiences you have and the more that you find yourself, right? It's about recognizing your weaknesses. Once you recognize that, like, okay, maybe I'm like I have a dominant personality, I'm too aggressive, I'm too bossy, this and that, then you sort of, like, you can control that and you become a healthy version of that. And then it's like, I can't remember the last time I was, like, angry, you know what I mean? Like, so in all of these, there's, like, a healthy version of that. And maybe you'll sway between an unhealthy and healthy version as you grow up, as you, like, mold into
and just
who you
like
are.
lifestyle, like things that happen in life, like you're gonna have to, like, your personality is gonna go with whatever you're dealing with. So however
And your
that goes
situation
for you.
changes.
Exactly.
Like your type, I feel
Your
like
type could change, right?
your
You
type
said
changes. I feel like that. 'cause
I think it could. I think that, like,
Based
it
on
also
your
helps you, like,
environment, maybe.
realize it too, because one major thing it was saying about mine was that, like, you spread yourself thin and that you distract yourself with too many things. And, like, I can totally see how I do that in my life.
Yeah,
feel
like,
like
your
so
like
many
your
people
phone
do that,
ringing
though.
during a podcast. I totally see
Basically.
that, yeah.
No, but there's, like, so many qualities in there that I feel like anybody, if they, like, got that, they'd be like, oh yeah, that's so me.
Like a zodiac.
yeah,
sign,
like
right?
I feel like it's very
Reading
similar
your
to that.
horoscope.
Except for mine, like, I feel like a lot of it was, like, me.
Yeah.
And I feel like nobody else could have that. But
The test, I have to say, the test is good.
the test is good,
Because
yeah.
a lot of these quizzes, like, if you take, like, oh, what Disney princess am I, right? There's, like, different options where it's like strongly agree, neutral, disagree, strongly disagree. And for those tests, I find myself towards the middle of all of them because I'm like, I don't know if I'm strongly agree. I don't know if I strongly disagree.
Yeah.
But for this one, it gave you, like,
yes, no, and I don't know.
No, yeah,
Yes, no,
it was,
or,
it was
like, neutral
agree,
maybe.
disagree, and, like, partly.
Okay.
yeah, something like that. But it was like, for this, I zoomed through it. I was like, yes, no, no, yes. Like, I knew, like, oh, this is me, this is not me, or, like, you know what, sometimes.
Yeah.
But it wasn't like, it wasn't as situational based, because a lot of these tests, it's like, well, if you're thinking of this, or when I'm taking these tests sometimes, like, if I know it says, like, oh, I love to eat Mediterranean food, then I know I'm gonna get Jasmine.
Right.
You know,
Yeah.
it, like, you know exactly who you're gonna get. Or you're taking a SpongeBob test and it's like, are you really stingy with money? Okay, well, I don't feel like getting Mr. Krabs, so I'm just gonna say that I'm not.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, exactly.
So with this, it's like you don't really know, but you know who you are, so
Right.
you can, agree, disagree. But it's an awesome test. Like, it was fun to figure that out.
I just didn't like my negative aspects.
You had a lot of negativity. In
a lot of it wasn't.
What
100%
type were you?
accurate. Type 4.
Type 4. And do you remember what the title of that was?
Yeah, it was individualist.
Yeah, mine was the Challenger. What was yours?
I don't know.
Well,
You were type 7.
She was
Yeah.
a sign type 7.
She was assigned.
I was
yeah, she
I was
didn't get it.
assigned because I got 3, but my follow up was 7.
I mean, with anything, I guess you take it with a grain of salt. Like,
Yeah.
obviously, we aren't exactly what this
I'm butthurt by
chart
this
says,
exam. So.
but it's like it's a good way to, like, analyze yourself and see where you
yeah.
think that you stand.
Yeah.
Because it's based off of what you think of yourself, right?
Yeah.
So that's pretty cool.
Right.
What do you think? What type is Mark Zuckerberg?
3.
Robot. None. He's a robot. I think this man's like an android and not even human.
So what's going on with him lately?
Dude, he's been questioned by like the Senate. You know, remember like a couple episodes ago, I was like talking about how like I was talking to my mom about sunglasses.
Yeah.
And like I got ads on Facebook
Right.
about
And that's literally
sunglasses.
what the senators were asking,
Yeah,
right?
they were like asking him like, oh, would you tell us about where you stayed, like what hotel you stayed at? He was like, oh, I wouldn't be comfortable saying that. And then senator asked, who are the last 10 people you talked to? He's like, I'm not comfortable saying that. And he was like, that's exactly why you're here, because he was releasing that information on other people.
To be fair, the senators also didn't have a good understanding of the internet just generally, because they were asking ridiculous things like, how do you keep up a platform that's free, as if advertisements hasn't been online forever, and how that's not like a money making thing. And
Yeah.
like I feel like they were trying, but like they weren't like well rehearsed on what they should be asking.
Definitely.
You know the most messed up part of all of this?
What?
Why was Mark Zuckerberg sitting in a booster seat? That's what I want to know. He was sitting in a booster seat.
And
What do you mean?
You know,
he
it was
was
A boost. He was a seat.
it was
okay?
designed for the chair.
What do you mean it was designed? for
Like
sure?
it fit in the chair perfectly. Like it had curvatures.
Why
for
does
the-
he need a booster seat?
Dude,
Is he a baby?
No,
he's an
maybe it's-
android. I'm telling you,
Maybe it's to like, you
No,
know,
he's a-
maybe he's a type 8 like you and he just needs to feel in control.
he's a robot. I'm
Type
telling you
A,
guys.
Type A would never use a booster seat.
I don't
Robots
know.
do.
I'd be
that.
laying back with my feet up.
Guys.
That's not true.
Yeah, I'd be like, yo, what's good, Senate? Like, if Facebook, like, if I'm in...
And he doesn't know how to drink water. Did you see how he drank water?
Oh my god, that's
Really?
everybody who drinks water.
How was
in
he
front
drinking
of-
it?
He was like, I don't know. He was just like his eyes open, and like it was just so weird. Like he was
That's,
just like,
they do that with Donald Trump too when he drinks water.
He drinks it very... He holds the
With
water
two
bottle with both
cups. Yeah,
hands.
that's true.
He's like... It's like a crane.
no, but
That's weird.
Mark Zuckerberg is a robot, and those literally like he would smile the same exact like angle. Like you know how like when you smile normally it's like different.
Was
Smile,
it like an acute or obtuse?
I'd say it's acute.
Okay.
Because you know robots have acute smiles, right? But like humans, we have obtuse, acute. Sometimes they'd like change, right? There's variations, right? But it was the same angle, and then like it'd go down, and then like when someone says something, he'd go, and it's like literally the same exact face.
I think something that we should talk about, you know, going into our guest today. Did you guys see the situation with Priyanka Chopra? She did an interview. It was, I think, about on the day of the gap pay with women, and she was talking about how there's a huge gap in the amount of money that's offered to women versus a man in roles. But then she brought up this idea about how, or this thing that happened to her last year in 2017, about how she was looking for a role and that her manager didn't want to tell her, or her agent didn't want to tell her that they didn't want to cast her because she was brown, and then they had to come up with like a backstory as to why, and then
Oh, so like what you're saying is that they wanted to choose like maybe a white person because they don't have to like
maybe
go back
like a
into
white
the history.
person or a black person or somebody who that they don't have to explain too much of
because like if it was a
why
brown
they're
person,
there.
then like they
Right.
would have to go like, oh, she's probably Indian, like in the
She was
writing
saying,
or
yeah,
something like that.
how they have to explain a backstory of why she's there, like what's the purpose of her being there versus
Doesn't that kind of
just-
make sense?
no, I don't.
At
think
the same
so.
time, they don't have to, you know, like
That's how you
it's
would
2018,
normalize
bro.
it.
Like yeah, like
You would
Oh, right,
you would
okay.
normalize a person.
They don't have to
and-
say why she came. Or, okay.
do you,
yeah, like why do you have to go from scratch and be like, oh, the reason why this brown person is here? Like in America, like it could be a brown person, it could be a Chinese person, it could be whatever person,
True.
you know. And so I think that's how you would make steps to normalize it, and that's what she was talking about. How like we need to have these roles and have these people do these more common roles and not so stereotypical
So that becomes
roles.
normal.
So it
Because the
becomes
questions that
normal.
people still get is like, even when they're born and raised here, even if they're like second, third generation, sometimes a first question that, you know, a white person may ask somebody of color is like, oh, where are you from?
Right.
yeah,
And then,
But where are you really from?
or like, where are your parents from? Or like, you know, what's, so it's also the fact that they don't necessarily know how to ask it, but if they saw on TV enough that like, oh, it's just an American or whatever,
Yeah.
and it
Yeah.
wasn't explained, because then by explaining it, then you're saying that every single person of color like came from somewhere.
You put
And
them
then-
in another category.
and then that gives them more like I guess curiosity to do the same thing with anybody that they meet in person, so they'll continue doing the same thing.
Yeah.
Right.
Whereas the other way, if they just see that, okay, he's just a normal American, then they might treat somebody in real life like
Like,
that.
did you guys
Yeah.
watch Baywatch with her in it?
Yeah.
No.
They didn't really, correct me if I'm wrong, they didn't explain why she was in that role, right? And I still think that she did great in that role, and it made sense for why she was there. She just did it, and it happened. I think that's, if there was more roles like that just normalized it, it would make it more easier for day-to-day conversations. When people see you and they see it on TV, it becomes normal. And that's how she was talking about how in movies they need to have stronger female actors too. Like, the reason why we can't, people aren't looking for strong female roles in these movies because they don't think that they're selling. And so when we as consumers have to go and want those things and go watch them in theaters so that it can come back around and we do cast these strong female roles.
Facts.
Interesting.
But also,
Well-
like, Hollywood they're very scared to take risks, even though they do take a bunch of risks at
Right.
the same time, like with stupid movie ideas. But when it comes to like race and all of these other issues,
All of a sudden becomes taboo.
yeah, like it's like, whoa, like let's not go there.
Yeah.
It's like, bro, I want to see,
Yeah.
some brown females. That'd be cool.
True.
Yeah.
Well, let's further this conversation about diversity with our guest today. It's 4 diverse girls who are highlighting a different perspective on beauty. It's a group called Rung, and they'll explain what that means. And specifically, they focus on the intersection between diversity and beauty. So with us is going to be talking on the behalf of them is Sneha and Amrita. And actually, like, after the podcast was over, we had some really interesting conversations about how they are themselves very open-minded and not only using their South Asian backgrounds to understand each other and put on for their behalf, but like go outside and explore with like Africans and East Asians and all types of people. And even Sneha, even though that they're all Hindu, they mentioned Sneha, jokingly, people say that she's 10% Muslim because she's takes a
an
lot of
interest,
interest
yeah.
in that kind of stuff. So like, it's that open-mindedness that is really cool about this group. And yeah, they're going to be talking about it and why it's important to them. So everybody, please welcome Rangde. Like, my sister's name, I don't know if I told you, is Neha.
Amazing.
So so it's all, I've never actually met a Sneha before.
Yeah.
So it's like,
That's like Snaily and Neha.
That extra letter,
Yeah.
really makes the difference.
Yeah.
okay, so we're here with Sneha and Amrita, and you brought the squad with you.
Yeah, of course.
Who's sitting over there? Can we get a whoop whoop? We,
I hope they can hear that.
What was
the, whole,
Yeah.
the whole squad did not participate.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You said,
Okay, can we get like a bale bale? Like, what do you want?
You guys should have a squad chant. You guys have a squad chant?
you're not going to be seen. You're just being heard.
It's how she responds to stress.
Stress, yeah. She's
Okay,
hyper,
believe
yeah.
us. There's 2 other ladies in the room
Yeah.
that came here for support,
Moral support.
They're all also a part of what we're going to be talking about today, too.
Yeah.
for sure. So first of all, what's the squad interaction? Like, what are they doing here? Like, why do you guys need them here?
So we're roommates. We're best friends. We do everything collectively together as a group. So,
Where are you guys roommates?
in DC.
You go
yeah.
to...
We go to George Washington University. So
Okay,
we're all
cool.
students. Yeah,
Nice.
we're in our senior year.
So have you guys been together for like 4 years?
Parts of WhatsApp. So
Kind of.
Yeah.
Okay, so you all ended up collectively being in the same room now.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Did you guys choose this?
Yeah.
So you guys like to be around each other all the time?
Sometimes.
Oh, okay.
What's kind of everybody's roles? Like, we've been really on this like whole personality trait thing.
Okay.
But like, what's the sort of
Yeah, what's
dynamic
the
of
role?
everybody? Like, is there like an alpha? Is there...
I don't think I'm a mom.
Yeah.
I think I share. Well, okay. So Priya and I
The alpha
collectively
speaks.
Well, no, not the alpha.
Yeah.
You're
Yeah.
gonna cause fights, bro. After this, we're gonna start fighting. They're like, I was the alpha.
I don't think with girls there are alphas. They're just like roles you
there's
play to
alpha.
fill
There's
it.
alpha.
Yeah.
Have you seen,
Groups,
have you seen
yeah.
Mean Girls?
Yeah, but is that
Not
reality?
live.
I feel like that's
that's
not-
supposed to be in Illinois, and they do Illinois state competitions in Evanston. Please, it's at UIUC.
Wait, what do they do?
Like the math competitions.
The
Oh.
mathlete,
In the-
the end, they have
Yeah.
their mathlete competition.
They have it in the wrong theater. I was really personally offended.
Actually.
So you guys are all like South Asian?
Yeah.
Okay, and from what parts?
So, Sneha, Priya, and I are all Telugu, so we're all from Andhra Pradesh, I guess.
Priya is also Tamilian,
Also
so she has
Tamilian.
like that mix.
Yeah.
Okay, so that's very different than what we're used to.
Yeah, and then
Samya's
Samya's
North Indian.
Yeah.
Okay,
From
very
UP.
cool.
From-
Very
Nice.
cool. And do you guys? So you guys all speak similar languages, but not really. Then.
So you three speak Telugu and you speak Hindi?
Well, Priya speaks
Telugu.
Telugu,
Yeah, Tamil.
like a combo, and then we both speak Telugu.
Is that? Do you think that like out of the South Asian community that sets you guys apart, or do you just kind of blend in?
I think that in like the South Asian community at GW,
Sure. Yeah.
I feel like we're already pretty small, and then on top of that, when you meet other Southies, you get really excited, or at least I do. Like it's just a very like, oh my God,
Yeah. We get really excited if we meet other South
there's more
South
Southies.
Indians,
Yeah.
Because there aren't that many of us.
So how did you guys make it on to Strange Flavors? Like, what are you here to talk to us about?
We created an Instagram page together to talk about the intersectionality of diversity and beauty.
The four of you created this together?
Yeah, four of
Okay.
us created this together.
When did this
yeah.
start, by the way?
About 2 months ago.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And what's it called?
It's called Rung De,
Meaning,
meaning
Give it color.
Give it color.
give it color. That's cool. Where'd you come up with that?
So, oh my
We were at
gosh.
brunch.
Yeah, we went through a lot of different names. We like the idea of the word spectrum, and and situation, that's like kind of a word that we use a lot, and concept. And we just weren't able to tie any of those words in, and we were worried that if we used a South Asian language word, it would be exclusive, and it would only revolve around the South Asian community, which is not what we were trying to do. But then after some more thought and realizing that us putting it together as South Asians kind of gave it that little background, we chose Rung De.
So what is the basis of Rung De?
Okay, so you know that whole nude lipstick fad that was going on where everyone wanted a nude lipstick?
Yeah, like Kim Kardashian's line that
Yeah.
came out of nudes.
Yeah,
and
and
how
there
they
was
didn't.
Kylie
yeah.
Jenner's like lip kit.
Yeah, and it was this idea that like you would find this lip color that would blend into your skin tone, but it still like looked good. And I really couldn't find one. I'm really dark, and I was just having a lot of issues finding a nude lipstick. And I finally navigated myself to the like offshoot colors and just brown in general. And that's where I found my version of nude lipstick. And it became this weird thing where it wasn't labeled as nude because I was outside of the skin tone spectrum. And so I really liked that lipstick after I found it. And one day Priya and I were like just putting on makeup, and she tried it out, and it was this brownish color, but it looked really good. And it was just really interesting to see how both of us wore it, and they were monumentally different. And then Samya came in and who was even in a completely different skin tone, and we're all kind of on this nice little spectrum. And then she wore it, and we saw how the same color that was coming out of the same tube was so different on all of us, and that's kind of how that came to be. And
It's so
we
interesting that
discussed
you guys are all sort of like different shades.
Yeah.
Which makes it perfect. Like this was meant to be.
I guess
Yeah.
what is like the purpose to show this, I guess?
I think the way these products are advertised, it's always on a certain skin tone and of a certain look. And we kind of wanted to show how the same product looked so different on all of us, and kind of the issues that we face in the beauty industry, and just like as South Asian American women.
So now what is Rung De? Like what is it? What are you using it to do?
So Rung De kind of grew from that idea. So we're trying to get other people's ideas on what diversity and beauty mean to them. And so Rung De kind of has
Through
two
like social
prongs.
media? Or?
Yeah,
Okay.
through just like our Instagram account. We're starting with that. And we have like two prongs. Do you want to go into one of them?
Yeah, so one of them is we have photo shoots where we come up with themes that we want to do, and we discuss them. But then we also feature others and ask them what the intersectionality of diversity and beauty means to them, and we feature them on the account as well.
Okay, so like who are some people that you've featured on there, and like what are their stories like?
So one of our friends, Sartu, came on, and she is of African heritage, and she talked a lot about skin tone and how that tied in, and kind of how perceptions of people, like just looking at her and talking to her growing up in the United States with African origin. And we had a few other people too.
Yeah, one of our friends, Hirsch, he also was featured on our account, and he's a South Asian male, and so just hearing his perspective was very different as well.
He was working with makeup or
No,
okay.
not makeup.
Just talking
no.
about
just talking about how beauty standards in
beauty
general.
standards, okay.
Yeah.
For males or
Yeah, for males, yeah,
Okay,
and
cool.
as a South Asian male, yeah.
Yeah, and so the question we ask is very general. It's what does diversity and beauty mean to you? Or what does the intersection of diversity and beauty mean to you? So today, we just posted before coming here a picture of our friend Sophia, and she talked about how like her hijab and what it means to her. And so we try to kind of just pull different people from different communities and see what that means to them, because it's different for everyone. And for us to be a page of diversity and beauty and only representing the South Asian narrative like isn't fair. So we give what we can from that side, but we pull from others as well.
So you were talking about how certain clothing you've been told not to wear, like lighter clothing because it makes you look darker. That's kind of a problem that we have specifically in like the South Asian community.
Yeah, definitely.
Do you have any thoughts about that?
Yeah, I think it's really annoying. I really like bright colors. I enjoy wearing them, and I think it's annoying that you really can't find shades that are bright but also suitable to dark-skinned people. And sometimes it's just annoying to hear those kinds of reactions, like, oh, why did you wear that? Like, you obviously look darker. Oh, like the lighting isn't suiting you because of your skin tone.
Well, has that ever bothered you?
It's bothered me. It bothered me a lot when I was little. I was born in northern Wisconsin and then lived in northern Illinois, and so I was in a very non-diverse area for a long time, and so that did bother me just because that was something that was pointed out actively. But then I think it started fueling my pride towards dark skin. I'm very proud of dark skin now. Like, I talk about it regularly.
That's awesome.
But it took a really long time to get there, especially because of like societal influences being like, you have to wear duller colors, or you have to do this, or you have to do that.
Would you ever be like told to wear certain things to lighten your skin, or wear like lighter makeup,
Use
or
turmeric.
using
Turmeric, like spreading that haldi on your arms.
Yeah. Every time I went to India, like everyone would be handing me the haldi and be like, oh, you really got to apply this. I'd be like,
yeah, Fair and Lovely, like that's a huge industry, and it's thriving, unfortunately.
It's such a joke. Like, that's like, if you see the commercial for it, you would think that you're watching a parody video.
It's
like
so
Just
right,
Rain's videos are like literally made like, you know, a Fair and Lovely commercial. It's just like, apply this and your skin will get lighter. Like, but you know, it's like we're in an intellectual age where we're like, why do we need to do that? Like, that's not who I am. You were talking earlier about a male that was featured on your page. So like, what are some of the I guess issues that they have with beauty standards?
Yeah, sure. So I think males have just as many issues with beauty standards as females do. I mean, I think it's less talked about, but I think as Asian American men, like, they're often feminized in the media, especially as Indian American men, South Asian American men, and that's definitely an issue that many of them face.
You guys mentioned the significance of jewelry in our culture. So like, why is that so important too?
Well, jewelry is viewed so differently in South Asia, and we wanted to touch on like the history of that and how that kind of shaped our experiences here in the U.S. As South Asian Americans.
What primarily like are we talking about? Like,
so
earrings, headpieces?
Yeah, so two of us did like one North Indian papadi pindi, like the headpiece.
What's it called? Tika?
Mata patti.
Yeah, one did a North Indian, one did a South Indian. One Priya did the South Indian one, and Sami did the North Indian one. So you could see kind of the differences regionally. And I was wearing a whole headpiece along with the bell-shaped earrings. And Sneha was...
Yeah, I did nose rings and just nose pieces in general. And it was cool research. We got to look and see the significance of it in history, and just with like medicine, or like Ayurvedic medicine, and with the north-south contrast, we also did like clothing. In South India, it's very common to put jasmine flowers in your hair, but in North India, it's more common to like cover your head than it is in South India. So we touched on that as well.
I think it's interesting how in South Asian culture, doing a nose ring is like very normal.
Yeah, very traditional.
Here it seems edgy.
It's very edgy,
right?
It's very odd.
You have a nose ring.
Yeah, I got my nose pierced in high school, like early, like in sophomore year, And my mom has her nose pierced. My grandma had both sides of her nose pierced. It was a very normal thing.
Do they have the giant ones?
She had like this flower thing here, but also like a little one here. It was very interesting. But yeah, like the big rings, which are more prevalent like northern and South Asia, and like in like if you look at Mughal Empire and stuff. And so when I got my nose pierced I was in Illinois, one of my teachers came up to me and was like, "You must be ashamed of yourself."
Are you serious?
Yeah.
Wow.
And she was like, "Why are you rebelling from your family?" I was like, "Girl, please." Like,
It's part of my family.
yeah, this is part of my thing.
my
Like,
culture.
this is my whole culture. And it's been a really important part of me after that, just because people won't say anything because they're like, "Oh, you're brown, you have your nose pierced," but then other people will be like, "Oh my god, yeah, I got my nose pierced too because I'm edgy and cool." I'm like, "What?"
Yeah, now it's like, now a lot of these things it seems like are cool on, you know, an American side, but like, you know, South Asians have been doing something for a long time. We were talking about beards earlier, like the whole beard oil thing. That's another thing, right? So there's like all these beard oil stores now.
Yeah.
But when you know, when you're growing up in like Desi culture, it's like seen as kind of like gross. Like, why are you putting oil in your beard?
exactly.
So what are some other things that you kind of see that are like, you know, this double standard we get?
Well, I think like bindis as well. When you look at Coachella, which is happening right now,
Oh,
like it's
man.
so common to see girls wearing bindis, and you know,
Which is like the
Little stud.
which is the
the little dot.
dot on your
on.
forehead.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a mark of like a Hindu woman. So we wear bindis when we go to the temple, and it's like a traditional thing. But there they do it for music festivals, and it's just really
To look exotic.
Yeah,
to look
it's
exotic,
to look
yeah.
exotic. And there's also like coconut oil, a lot of people, and coconut water and milk and stuff too. That's a very common thing in South Asian history and culture. But people now are going to Whole Foods and buying like $12 to $15 bottles of coconut oil.
Yeah, they are expensive.
Yeah,
they are.
and then you go down to like your local sabji mandi and get it for like $2, you know?
Yeah.
And it's funny because when you're little and you have coconut oil in your hair and you have it braided and you go to school, people make fun of you because it smells weird or something.
It looks shiny.
It looks shiny. It looks like your hair is oily. And then now it's like, oh my God, this is super beneficial. Or like haldi and lattes. Like this new haldi, like turmeric latte thing.
Yeah,
like that's
Starbucks
another-
now loves their
Yeah.
turmeric lattes.
And everyone's like, oh my God, turmeric? Wow, that's so new. And,
And
we're
that's
like, it's
what we
not.
used to drink when we were sick growing up. And
Yeah.
we're like, I don't want to drink turmeric milk.
It's so funny. It's a weird time.
Is it actually good though? Do you know?
Yeah, it's actually really, like, it boosts your immune system. It's really good
I mean,
for
it
you.
doesn't taste good.
It doesn't
No one does
taste
it for the
good.
taste.
No, the
taste.
Starbucks one.
Oh, I
Yeah,
haven't.
yeah, it's terrible.
you
don't-
tried it?
Yeah, I was curious. I wanted to like see how it compared with my mom's, you know. But yeah, you definitely don't do it for the taste, but like health wise, it's good.
I mean, in our apartment, we do like haldi shots. So when we're sick, you literally take the bottle of haldi, open it, pour it dry into your mouth, and
Wait,
soak like drink it
powder?
with water.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh god, that sounds like the cinnamon challenge.
It is, but this is like beneficial.
challenge.
Like I was sick a few weeks ago. I ate the whole bottle of haldi, and we just like keep getting new ones because we just use it a lot.
It's
Wow.
crazy. So, well, when it comes to like, you know, celebrities sort of taking interest, or like the mainstream media taking interest in South Asian culture, like, what do you guys think about where the line is when it comes to either honoring the culture or like appropriating it?
I think that depends on whether they're understanding where the history is and like whether they're honoring the history of it and the tradition of it, and or if they're using it for their own purposes and trying to put it into their image of being like edgy or whatever.
Okay.
Definitely, and I think what was that music video with Beyonce and Cole?
Coldplay.
Him
yeah.
for the weekend.
Yeah,
for the weekend,
yeah,
yeah.
and they were like, "Oh, Beyonce's a Bollywood princess," and if you look at her outfit, you're like, "Where? What movie
What
did I
part
see
of
that clothes?" Yeah, and there's a lot of. I think the biggest one that really annoys me is a lot of celebrities will do music videos where like rishis and Hindu sages will be smoking pot. Or they'll be smoking pot in temples because it's like a cool location to film. But you don't do that in a church. So why are you doing that with a very prominent part of South Asian culture? Like that's very disrespectful. And if it was used in any other context, it would be very like looked down upon a lot. But like celebrities will kind of take that narrative and turn it so that it's cool and edgy and hipster. And I feel like a lot of like hipster ideas come from South Asian identities.
Yeah.
So what do you think is an ideal way to push the culture out there? Because these are faces, you know, Beyonce and Kim Kardashian, all them. These are faces that we see all the time.
Right.
But if they're doing something related to South Asian culture, does that in a way normalize it? Or is that like still kind of like, no, this is not the way we want to be depicted?
I think it depends on the depiction.
Okay.
Yeah, it very much depends on like whether they're doing it with integrity and like being true in their depiction.
So we've talked about Kim Kardashian doing the Vogue, India Vogue issue. So what were you guys' thoughts of that? Because we've talked about it amongst ourselves, but we got to ask the beauty experts over here. So.
Experts is a...
I think what's interesting about that is the sari she was wearing was a Sabyasachi sari. You know, he is a prominent Indian designer. What?
Which is her dress?
Well,
he's a designer, of Indian luxury wear, and so in terms of that, like I don't think there is an issue with it. Like she was asked to do it by Indian Vogue, and they chose the clothes for her. It's like an Indian team choosing the clothes, and with an Indian designer. So I don't think that's so problematic.
Yeah, I think it definitely, I can see why there's controversy there, but I think the power in that power dynamic was in the people who were being represented. And I think that's usually where with celebrities we got pulled away. Like, I'm assuming that in Him for the Weekend, there were no South Asians in that production process. Or even if there were, like, I don't think the power was in their hands, right? It's all about a power dynamic. There's always a power dynamic, and it depends who has that role.
Can you guys talk about the Eurocentric idea? Because I don't feel like you guys talked about that.
So I think that with beauty and also perceiving yourself, there's a very big idea of Eurocentric beauty, and that not only does that heighten like skin tone, but it also heightens body type and clothing, and there's a lot of very specific factors that go along with Eurocentric identity. And again, that's a culture that people have adopted, but I think that for a lot of places there's a lot of forced assimilation, and that comes from a concept of being colonized and colonialism, and that's another power dynamic. It's who has power in that situation, the colonizers or the traditional people. So with that, especially like if you look in South Asia before partition and before the split, when the British were there, the people who they respected most were upper class and dressed like them and adopted their cultural identity. And naturally, I guess you see those upper class people moving abroad and going to different places and trying to tie that assimilation into their family. And I think that's a really big idea of Eurocentric beauty. And I think now, finally, because South Asians, especially in the United States, maybe not in the UK because that's a completely other story, but in the United States, we've been here past a generation where our parents' generation was a little more about assimilation. It was about trying to survive in a new environment where you're not just a minority, you're like a minority within a minority. But now it's this generation of us rising back up and fighting against those standards that our parents were set, which can also cause tension between like our generation and their generation.
Real quick on that, I hear that sometimes, and I can't help but to wonder, like, what can white people do about that? Like, society feels like, just remove them from this aspect and replace them with colored people or something. But, like, is there something that they can do to help out and still...
I think it's a lot about trying to make sure that they understand. And this is with brown people in the Black community, too. There's always different layers of different things and adopting different standards. But it's making sure you know where those standards are coming from and you understand who you need to help push upwards. You're not supposed to raise your own voice. You're supposed to help others raise their voices.
Yeah. Right. I also think of when we were talking about celebrities and everything, Pharrell launched that like Holy collection.
I mean, why Holy? Like, why did he pick Holy?
Yeah. What connection did he have with it?
If he wanted something colorful, like, just use the word colorful. Like, why does Holy, like, there's so much more to Holy than just throwing colors. There's bringing in new light and a bonfire, and there's so many more aspects to it. But if we're pulling out the one popularized like idea from it, that's not representing Holy. That's just
I guess it's like, I was following his Instagram, and it was like he was in India, and he felt really connected to the people and the culture and everything.
And I guess wanted to put like a good light on it.
Yeah, I guess from his perspective, he's like, all right, this is really cool. And he had never maybe heard of it, right?
Right.
And he's like, okay, like I guess maybe it's the fact that he's like selling that idea.
Yeah.
Maybe that's what it is.
And I think it's a religious festival, right? And so whenever they're selling this idea about holy, they forget that it's a religious, like they forget the religious aspect completely. So.
But I wonder also, like, if any famous Indian American actor or whatever musician was doing the same thing, would he or she get backlash for it?
Probably not. Well, probably not as much.
Like if Nav the rapper was like,
I feel like he would more.
Yeah, if Nav was doing like a Christmas line, like if people
that'd
no,
be
no, no, no. I'm saying if Nav was doing like a holy line,
Yeah.
No.
would it be like, oh yes, finally we have representation, or would it be like, no, Nav, you can't sell
Nav,
holy.
no. Definitely.
I think it depends who you talk to. Like I know there are people who are upset. I think there's a movie coming out about like a Bangladeshi like pilot, and they cast a Pakistani guy, and so like there were Bangladeshis who were upset because they're like, there's a lot of tension, why are you doing that, like we're disappointed in him for taking the role. But then there's other people who are saying, good, we're getting more South Asian representation, this is a popular movie, we have a dude that's in there for us. So it also depends on who you talk to. Like I think there could be backlash because Holi is a religious festival, but I think if there's a brown person taking ownership of it, like it really just depends on who you're talking to and their perspective.
That's like Aladdin, where people were so upset over like the ethnicity, or like, you know, what exact country they're from, or how much they're attached to that country.
Yeah.
So sometimes it feels like, you know, there's a lot of confusion there, even within our own communities, because some people think it's okay, some people don't. Do you think that people are oversensitive at times, and like how do you guys avoid getting into like these small little arguments and focusing on the overall picture?
Well, I think it's important that we think deeply about these things, and we're having the conversation today. I think sometimes people boycott things kind of extremely, and that's, I don't know, it gets a bit extreme. But I think generally I agree with the people who have the criticism and not with the oversensitive thing. Like, I don't think people are being oversensitive at all.
Yeah, definitely. And I think that oversensitivity, I don't know, it's a complicated idea. Because when you're oversensitive, you're like, oh, okay, well, maybe I'm being dramatic. But in the end, maybe you're not being dramatic. And this is something that actually hurt you and actually like caused you some kind of stress. And so in that case, like if it's altering your daily state, then something you're allowed to be upset over. So.
Okay, so you guys said how it's all like rooted and started with beauty and everything. Do you guys think that you're meeting kind of the milestones that you wish to see in the beauty industry, or do you think that there's certain things that you want to see coming up? Like, what do you think is missing, and what do you wish is there? Or do you think we're there?
I really don't think we're there. I think hair might be the next big movement. Natural hair is still not the norm, especially for black models on the runway. And yeah, I think growing up there was always like a need to like straighten your hair a lot and try to conform to.
Definitely. I think sometimes there's like, if you look at sick women, they wear really long hair and they grow their hair out a lot. But sometimes people are like, wait, why is it so long? But then if a woman has short hair, well, why is it so short? You know, so it's that general idea of accepting. But yeah, hair is a big one that like hasn't really been, I think right now it's a lot about shades and tones. I think like hair in general, body hair is also a really big one that hasn't been like hit yet.
What about eyebrows? Sorry, I didn't know.
Yeah, eyebrows are the
Eyebrows
bane
are
of
special.
everyone's
Yeah.
existence.
But it's interesting because eyebrows have a very special place, I think, in amongst like South Asian American women. Like, you know, I think it was like a rite of passage to
You
like,
get your
eyebrows
eyebrows
done.
threaded.
Yeah.
Yeah. Definitely. I think it's funny too because I think eyebrow threading has also now become really popular. And it's like,
It started out
yeah.
in like, you know, South Asian communities.
it's like, we get our eyebrows threaded. This is how it works. Other people are like, oh my God, like, and it's funny because when you go somewhere and you see someone with like really, really, because South Asians tend to have like pretty like thick eyebrows and like shaped eyebrows. And it's just funny. I've taken my friends with me and they're like, okay, like, well, how do you get your eyebrows done? I was like, I'm very specific. Like, these are all things that have to stay intact. And yeah, it's another like South Asian thing that started and kind of made its way here.
It's interesting how eyebrows went from like the bushy eyebrows. We had them all as kids, and it was like the worst thing. But then we ended up having like the best eyebrows after we got them done, and like you hit that puberty point, and that's when brows blew up in the beauty industry. So then we were like, you know, shining
Like, we
all over the
have
rim.
We got the right timing.
Yeah,
We did.
we did.
It's like one thing we hit the right time
Yeah,
for.
yeah.
Also, Lily Singh, I feel like, is doing a lot, who's Superwoman on YouTube.
Yeah.
With like, I see so many comments, any video that she ever posts is like, oh my God, your hair. And she keeps it very long.
She
She's
does.
Sikh, and like, so that's pretty cool. And she's like the face, I mean, at least for a while, she was like the face of YouTube.
Oh, she was.
All over everything. So that's pretty cool.
Yeah, and she has a lot of stuff coming out, and she's a huge voice. And I think there's a lot of other people, like Deepika Mutiala. She's not new, she's been around, but she's a beauty. She's like a beauty person who does makeup and stuff. She's South Indian. She started this little organization called Live Tinted, and they do, I think it's like they pick a theme a week. And so this week is noses, and it's like nose shapes and just being proud of your nose. And it's just a really nice, it's like cool. And they did shades and they do all sorts of things too.
Did you guys ever hear, like, you know, as South Asians, like, kids get their noses shaped by the grandmothers?
I've heard that. I don't understand, but I've
like my
heard
mom's
it.
told me that. People were like, oh, you know, your cousin, like, he used to have a really big nose, but then your grandmother like
Shaped
it
his
up.
nose.
How does that work?
They do
I
that
don't
with
know.
head shapes too.
Have you heard of that?
Yeah, well, I've heard
Head
head
shapes,
shapes.
And
yeah.
babies, they'll massage their head to get
To
a
be a
certain head
certain
shape,
shape.
which actually, like, scientifically, you're not supposed to do that to a
Yeah.
baby
That's
because
so weird.
their brain needs to grow in there, and you're
Right.
over here
Yeah.
shaping
Oh
the
my
size
God.
that your palm is in.
Oh no.
Right. I could have used some shaping, but it's funny. Are you guys excited for the brown renaissance? Do you think that that's a real thing, like with all these brown people popping up?
Oh
in
my God, totally.
media?
Yeah.
It's totally a thing.
I think growing up, like, you didn't see any brown people on TV at all. If I saw someone in, like, the back of an advertisement, I'd be like, whoa, look, there's a brown person on TV. They don't belong there, just because it was so out of the blue. But it's really great, like, the strides that have made in, like, the last decade. But yeah, there's a lot that needs to be done.
Definitely. I think looking at the UK is a really cool model. The UK has grown so much. There's a lot of brown people. You have Southall. You have,
It's an older community.
yeah, you have a Muslim mayor. You have a lot of people who are big in the UK who are huge South Asian, Arab, and because of that movement towards the UK. But also within that community, you still see like a lot of representation, and you see a lot of representation in different places. And I think we just don't have the population yet and the means, but I think we're on the right track.
Guys,
Yeah. You guys definitely made us think about a lot of different things. Are these all going to be sort of topics that you think that will come out of Rung Day?
Hopefully.
hopefully, yeah, that's our goal.
The more you talk to people.
I'm
Yeah.
really excited to see all the different stories because you guys already seem like you guys said it's like based in South Asian culture, but you guys started off with like a guy
Yeah.
and like a Muslim girl, and so I think it's interesting that you guys aren't just keeping it within the shades, but with
Yeah.
everything. I like that.
Yeah, we're trying. We're trying to represent as many people as possible.
Awesome. Well, we look forward to seeing more out of it and see what, you know, comes out of it, especially when you guys part ways.
Yeah.
Hopefully you keep it going.
Yeah.
Please keep it going.
We're gonna try our best.
This squad is lit.
Thanks.
You guys have 4 different places to focus on.
Yeah. Now we have so many more people.
We always finish off the podcast with the most important question, and this determines everything. So,
Okay.
Shamir,
If you could how do we if you both could describe yourself in any flavor, what flavor would it be and why?
Individual flavors, right?
Flavor
or
of
collective, unless you guys have
Of ice cream
of
or like-
anything. It could be
Anything.
You know.
Are you gonna do a communal choice?
Are we
or-
doing a communal? Are we doing a
Communal
squad?
choice?
Does the squad want to be in
Squad
on
choice,
this?
yeah, I think
Yo,
that's-
squad
yeah.
jump on
If
the
it's
couch.
individual, they have to be
Yeah.
included
Squad
too.
jump on the
Yeah,
couch.
Yeah, jump on the couch and add
Just
some
kind of
flavor.
where you
Okay,
can
we're
come
all.
through.
All right,
This is the rest of the squad.
You get.
Oh,
like
are you going?
You get a
are you-
15
wait,
second.
wait,
You can
You get a
have them
15
okay.
second team meeting,
Okay.
and it better be a good reason. Okay.
This is so funny.
I
It's like a
love
movie
this.
scene.
I love
It's like a movie scene right now.
This is amazing.
You know that's like Cameron. You know
This is so fun.
Some of them are disagreeing with each
Okay.
other.
All right.
Maggie.
Okay. What'd you pick?
Go
What'd
with
you
Bale
pick?
Puri.
Bale
Bale puri. Can you describe what that is?
Yeah, absolutely. It's
Like, describe the flavor.
So it's street food.
you get a little bit of everything. You know, you get that tamarind chutney, but you also get that, which is like sweet. You also get that mint chutney, and then you get, if you get potato in there, that's like soft, but then you get the
Base
actual
is crunchy.
Yeah, and then you can have that yogurt for that cool, but then you still get the spiciness from the other chutneys. You know, it's that combination. So it really represents South Asian diversity.
Oh wow! So that describes Rung Day. That's
Yeah.
like that's what you guys are going for. Awesome. Well, guys, thank you so much for coming on. This was a lot of
Thank
fun,
you.
and we wish you the best of luck.
Thank you
Yeah.
so much, guys.
And for everybody listening, this has been another week, another flavor, a little less stranger. We'll talk to you next week.